Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Arkarflux TV. Today, we're diving into some pretty intense news coming out of China's east coast. I'm talking about Typhoon Dolphin, which has really made its presence felt in recent days, causing widespread disruption and, frankly, a lot of concern.
That's right, Chloe. We've been tracking this for a while, and it's certainly delivered on the predictions of being a significant event. The latest reports indicate that the center of Typhoon Dolphin actually moved over the coastline near Yuhuan City in Zhejiang Province at about 5:30 p.m. GMT on 9:30, which is pretty much exactly where they expected it to make landfall, and it hit with some serious force.
Yeah, I saw the numbers on that. The National Meteorological Center said maximum wind speeds near the center were over 150 kilometers per hour at the time it made landfall. To put that in perspective, that's equivalent to a Category 1 hurricane. And it's not just the wind, right? The rainfall forecasts are just staggering. Parts of central and eastern Zhejiang could receive anywhere from 250 to 500 millimeters of rain. That's a half a meter of rain in some places, potentially. It's truly a monumental amount of water, Marcus. And with that kind of precipitation, the risk of flash flooding, landslides, and widespread infrastructure damage just skyrockets. You know, these storms aren't just about the immediate impact. It's the aftermath and the recovery that can be just as, if not more, devastating for communities.
Absolutely, Maya. And speaking of communities, the sheer scale of the preparations and evacuations is just mind-boggling. Lucas, what were some of the numbers we were seeing regarding people being moved to safety?
The numbers are quite dramatic, Chloe. Authorities in Wenzhou, for instance, relocated over 900,000 residents from the city, and to accommodate everyone, they opened more than 1,000 emergency shelters. In Fujian Province, nearly 99,000 people were moved from risky areas even before the storm fully arrived. That's well over 1 million people, all told, moved out of harm's way. It's an immense logistical undertaking.
Can you even imagine what that's like? Being told you have to leave your home, not knowing what you'll return to. It's not just a statistic, it's hundreds of thousands of individual stories of uncertainty and fear. And the emergency shelters, while absolutely essential, are often crowded, stressful environments. It really highlights the human element of these natural disasters.
It really does, Marcus, and it speaks volumes about the level of preparedness and the early warning systems in place, which, while impressive in scale, also underscore the severity of the threat. The authorities aren't taking any chances, and for good reason, given the potential for devastation from a typhoon of this magnitude. Beyond the human relocation, the disruption to daily life and critical services has been massive too. I heard about significant cancellations in transport. Lucas, can you give us the rundown on how travel was impacted?
It was pretty extensive, Chloe. Nearly 1,400 flights in and out of Shanghai's two main passenger airports were canceled on Sunday alone, and Hangzhou's airport in nearby Zhejiang Province saw 270 inbound and outbound flights canceled. We're talking about huge travel hubs, so the ripple effect on air travel extends far beyond just those regions. Then you have the maritime side. Dozens of ferry services suspended in Taiwan, over 200 ferry routes suspended in Zhejiang and Fujian. They even called 474 construction vessels to port by Friday morning, halting offshore projects entirely. Even some train services were suspended for safety.
That's a staggering amount of disruption. Think about all the business trips, family vacations, cargo deliveries, everything just grinding to a halt. It's not just an inconvenience. For some, it's missed opportunities, lost income, or vital supplies being delayed. And the sheer coordination to cancel and reschedule that many flights and ferries and trains across such a vast area, it's just mind-boggling to orchestrate.
It points to the economic impact, doesn't it? When you shut down major transport arteries, the economic cost, even for a few days, can be substantial. Supply chains are affected, tourism takes a hit, and everyday commerce slows down. And for a country with such a massive economy, these disruptions can certainly be felt at a national level, even if localized. What's really fascinating, though, is how far-reaching the effects of a storm like this can be, even beyond its immediate path. Maya, you were looking into some of the more distant impacts, right?
Indeed, Chloe, this is where it gets particularly interesting from a meteorological perspective. The effects of Typhoon Dolphin were felt as far away as Hong Kong on China's southern coast. Now, you'd expect rain or wind, but in this case, the Weather Observatory posted a record-high temperature of 36.9 Celsius. This wasn't direct heat from the sun, it was caused by warm air pushed over the city by Typhoon Dolphin itself. The Hong Kong Observatory called it outer subsiding air that would persistently bring extremely hot weather. It's a vivid illustration of how atmospheric systems are interconnected and how a major storm in one region can have surprising ripple effects elsewhere.
Wow, so it's a typhoon bringing heat, not just rain and wind? That's counterintuitive. You'd think a big storm would cool things down, not crank up the mercury. That record 36.9 Celsius sounds absolutely brutal, especially if it lasts for days. It just adds another layer of misery and danger, doesn't it?
It definitely highlights the complex dynamics of these weather systems. And Hong Kong wasn't the only place feeling indirect effects. Typhoon Dolphin also brought heavy rain and strong winds to Japan's Okinawa before it even reached China. The impact there, while less severe than what China experienced, was still notable. 7 people in Okinawa suffered minor injuries, including a man aged over 100 who was actually blown over by gusts, fell to the ground, and hit his head. By Sunday afternoon, 5,290 households in Okinawa were without electricity. So it's a reminder that these storms have a very broad footprint. An elderly person being blown over by gusts, that's just heartbreaking, but also a stark reminder of the physical dangers, even in areas not directly in the eye of the storm. It really underscores why these massive evacuations are so crucial. Even minor injuries during a major weather event can quickly overwhelm emergency services.
Exactly, Chloe, and it also links back to the broader conversation we often have about climate change. Scientists are increasingly saying that human-driven climate change is making extreme heat events more frequent and more intense worldwide. While we can't directly attribute any single typhoon to climate change, the increased frequency and intensity of these extreme weather events, including the heat domes that can result, fit a troubling pattern that climate models have been predicting for years.
That's a critical point, Maya. It's not just about one storm, it's about the trend. And Dolphin's arrival comes just 2 weeks after Typhoon Newell lashed southern Guangdong province, which authorities at the time declared the strongest storm to hit China this year. So 2 significant typhoons in rapid succession. This kind of recurrence is what raises eyebrows in the scientific community. And Newell wasn't just a China problem either, was it? I remember reading about the damage it caused before it even got there. 3 people were killed, and hundreds of homes were damaged by Typhoon Newell in the Philippines before it reached China. So these aren't isolated regional events. They're huge, destructive forces that sweep across entire sea lanes and affect multiple countries.
It's a really sobering thought, isn't it? These typhoons, these extreme weather events, they're becoming almost a regular feature of our news cycle. It makes you wonder about the long-term impact on coastal communities and how much more resilient infrastructure needs to become.
Precisely. The financial and human cost of recovery, coupled with the need for constant vigilance and evacuation, places an enormous strain on resources. It's a continuous cycle of preparation, impact, and recovery. And with rising sea levels, coastal regions are becoming even more vulnerable to storm surges, compounding the issue.
The good news, if there is any, is that Typhoon Dolphin was expected to weaken after making landfall while moving in a northwesterly direction over eastern China. So while the immediate impact was severe, hopefully its destructive power will diminish as it moves inland, reducing the risk of further catastrophic damage. But even a weakened typhoon can still bring significant rainfall and localized flooding.
Yeah, weakened is relative, isn't it? Even a weak storm after 150 kilometers winds and half a meter of rain is still a major problem for communities already dealing with the aftermath. The cleanup, the rebuilding, the psychological toll, that takes months, sometimes years. It's not over when the winds die down. That's a really important perspective, Marcus. It's easy for us to move on to the next news story, but for the people in Zhejiang, Fujian, and all the affected areas, this is their reality for the foreseeable future. What are some of the key takeaways for listeners thinking about the broader picture of these events?
I think it really highlights the absolute necessity of robust infrastructure, effective early warning systems, and well-rehearsed evacuation plans. China's efforts to relocate over 1 million people, despite the logistical challenges, undoubtedly saved countless lives. But it also underscores the growing imperative to address climate change at a global level to mitigate the increasing frequency and intensity of these extreme weather events in the long run. We can build higher seawalls, but there's a limit to what infrastructure alone can do.
From a data perspective, it's about continuous monitoring and understanding the evolving patterns. The ability to forecast these storms with such accuracy, even predicting their indirect effects like the heat in Hong Kong, is a testament to meteorological science. But as Maya said, the trends suggest we'll need to keep pushing those boundaries, as the new normal might just be more extreme. And on a human level, I think it's a reminder of solidarity. When these disasters strike, whether it's in China, the Philippines, or Okinawa, it affects all of us. Supporting relief efforts, staying informed, and just having empathy for those impacted is crucial. These aren't just headlines, they're people's lives and livelihoods at stake.
Couldn't agree more, Marcus. It's a powerful reminder of nature's force and our interconnectedness, both with each other and with the planet. Thank you, Lucas, Marcus, and Maya, for shedding light on Typhoon Dolphin's impact and the wider implications. It's been a really insightful conversation. To our listeners, please stay safe and aware, and we'll catch you next time.